It's wonderful to be here after 12 years of when the church was consecrated. But the idea of having the different faith traditions in the same building, something I would love to do and had talked about with a colleague in Palm Springs, California. Maybe we could do it, but of course the funding is such a challenge. Less so in the United States, the idea. It's easier perhaps because of the freedom of religion is well established in the United States, and that would be a lovely idea, but I heard about it first here. This was the first time I heard of the idea that you would work to have the same institutions under the same roof. And even if not yet, that's in the plan. And of course, beyond the building itself, it's an idea. It's a concept. And it exists in history when Jews and Christians and Muslims have been in dialogue with each other, sometimes not necessarily in person, not necessarily over food as we spoke about today, but in literature. The conversation is there. But the limit with the conversation in literature is that it's impersonal. It's so easy to misunderstand things. If I read a particular passage in the Quran, I may not be understanding it in its context. And of course, the context changes from when it was given orally written down until this very day. And it's different in Pakistan than it is in Palestine, perhaps. The same thing with the Hebrew Bible, the same thing with the New Testament. So it's important to see these texts, to read them together. But beyond that, it's important to pray together. I'm personally looking forward to the day of coming to this site and on a Friday to be at the prayer, the Jummah prayer, Friday afternoon in the mosque, and perhaps on Saturday night or Sunday, depending on when the Mass is, to be here in the same building to pray, in the same building in different traditions. If there were Jews in this neighborhood, it would make sense to have a Jewish synagogue as well. It's a little bit difficult to justify having something if there are no Jews in the neighborhood. Still, the idea is wonderful. I go back to the first chapter of the Torah, the first chapter of Genesis in the first book of Moses. We come from the same place, and it's not about scientific creationism against evolution. That's not the question here. The story has a purpose. It's not about what actually happened. It's about how we think about the world. Think about the world that we all come from the same time, the same place, from the same creator, from God. So there has to be a commonality. And while human beings developed in different ways in different places, with different skin colors, with different genders, with different beliefs about how God works, who God is, with different understandings of perhaps multiple gods, different understandings of no God at all those things come from the same place. I have my own understanding, but I'm interested in hearing about the others. Now, I believe that I'm actually commanded to do so, not so much from the Torah, from the Hebrew Bible, but from rabbinic literature. I'm commanded because the rabbis, the sages at the time, say Jesus and onwards in the land of Israel, they spoke about the fact that there are 70 faces to the Torah. It's that there's multiplicity. It's like a stone, a gemstone that has many different sides to it. And each side is justifiable. And each side has a different truth to it in a different situation. And I might understand as a Jew a particular verse in the Torah or a particular citation from the Talmud, the collection of rabbinic writings, or something written by a rabbi last year. I may understand it one way today and another way tomorrow, maybe even this evening, different than I understand it this morning. That is a fact of reality. That is our reality. And while it's not all subjective, there is some objective truth, but it's very, very... Life is contextual. Life is fuzzy. Life is not made up of exactly this and exactly that. Life is not so clear as people would like to believe. Life is complex. Life is nuanced. And so I believe I'm commanded. I feel that's a mitzvah for me to go out and understand and dialogue with other traditions. Now there's also a commandment from history itself. in which religion has not always, but oftentimes been a cause for human beings to kill each other, to take over each other's land, to force their opinion on the other person. It's important to break down some of those barriers, because there are other faith traditions, whether it's Buddhism or Hinduism or Native American religions or indigenous religions all over the world, and so many I don't even know about. I don't want us to think that we're really the center of it and everything else is secondary. That's what those things draw me to. It's the curiosity. Curiosity about how individuals have dealt with suffering, how they've celebrated their joys. There's so many different ways and so many different situations. And when we're narrow in our experience, when we're narrow in our thoughts and in our faith, then we run into situations of despair, of utter despair because of things not going our way. And we're limited in how we celebrate our joyous occasions. And while I'm all in favor of having a particular tradition for myself and keeping to it, I am still a Jew. I'm a religious Jew when I'm in the pews in a church. I'm still a religious Jew if I'm in the prayer line in mosques that actually invite me to be in the prayer line, or if I'm off to the side with the children in praying. I'm still very much a Jew. And I'm expressing my Judaism through being open to the other tradition. To me, that's my mitzvah. That's my commandment. Far be it from me to give advice to people that are doing this every day for years. I live in the desert. I live in the wilderness. I live in the United States, which is such a totally different reality than here. I lived in Israel, Palestine for so many years, which is a whole different story. And I have to be very careful. I need to find, which is hard for me, I need to find the humility to recognize how limited I am in my understanding and certainly in my ability to give out advice. But I would like to say that the three pillars of reality, as the rabbis teach us in the Talmud. It's one, Simon the Just, and I quote this all the time because it's so central to my life, not as a Jew only, but also as a human being, is that there's an area of life which is devoted to intellectual growth, what we call Torah, not necessarily the books of Moses. The Torah is in learning, instruction. Is that community that studies together grows together. I mean the wider community. To know about the other's text, to understand it, to hear that history of interpretation. The next is avodah, which is spiritual practice, which is very often prayer, worship, but it could also be things that have to do with perhaps walking in nature, perhaps music, art, things that we do for our ruach, for our spirits. And we do those things together. We understand, we feel a connectivity, a commonality of something, recognizing something that's greater than us. And this goes for secular humanists as well. It's not just about God, but in the context of Guds Hus, it would be about God and understanding of God. And finally, when there are problems in the world, when there's hunger, when there's war, when there's fires, as they are, earthquakes, floods, whatever they are, the response to helping people in dire need should be done by different people of faith in the same time, in the same effort. Because the effort is needed in a particular geographical area. It's not needed only for Jews or only for Muslims. So that fixing of the world, but it's beyond just responding to challenges of the hour. It's also addressing the injustice in society, whether it's political, whether it's social, whether it's gender-based, whatever it is, and to understand how complex and how nuanced that must be as well. That's important for us to understand and respect and to figure out how to live with that lack of clarity, how to live with that fuzziness. That's what this is about. So I guess my wish for you, my bracha, my blessing, is that you find and embrace the fuzziness. You celebrate the fuzziness. And you teach the rest of us how to do it.